Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode 54. My name's Mike Williams. I'm joined by these fine gentlemen, Liam McKelvey.
Hello.
And Jake Kulkowski. How's it going?
Mike.
I was about to say Gareth Evans, that's why I stumbled there. How's it going, guys?
Everyone all right? It's going good. Hey, we're in a new place this time.
Yeah,
new setup.
New green screen, so that's exciting. The green screen's on a different wall, so that is
we're
exciting.
in a different room. We've got like extra staff in as well. It's going to be wild.
We've got a producer, Mike, who's there. Trust me.
Yeah. So it's like this side of my face is like host Mike, and then I've got producer Mike.
Yeah,
it's not like that.
So this is the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. We read through the questions that our patrons ask us over on our Patreon page. Let's just ask us literally anything, and we will do our best to answer it in this podcast. That's how this goes, and we'll stop halfway through for a fascinating fact of the week and a 30-second throwdown. So let's just jump straight into it, I guess. House of Frogs asks us our first question this week. For a while now, we have seen three major gaming powerhouses dominating the console market: Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Do you think, with how big the industry is growing, that other companies will try to make their own version of a console, for example, Apple or Samsung? Do you reckon there'll be another console producer in the near future, guys? I don't think so, to be honest.
No, probably not. I know Apple have been trying with their little like Apple TV box or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
They've been getting they've got the guy who made Journey. He's made a game exclusively for the Apple TV. It's got like a year exclusivity or something on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, and they need to get the exclusives if they're going to make a new system. There's no point making a system unless you've got exclusives for it, and that's the simple truth of it, because people won't buy it. Like if they can get all these games on a PS4 and they already own a PS4, why would they buy an Apple system? I don't think it's completely out of the question, like within the next 5 to 6 years, to have a serious contender join in. But I think it does feel pretty stable at the moment. What do you reckon, Jake?
Well, the combined money you'd need to really rival these guys, to get that catalogue you need of AAA publishers, is more money than if you were to start a streaming service. It's easier to rival Netflix. It's easier to make a record label and rival Atlantic Records. You know what I mean? The amount of money you'd need to bag an EA exclusive or an Activision exclusive or anything exclusive. I mean, you could just be like Xbox and just not do exclusive, but that doesn't work out that well for them. But you'd have to have a lot of money, and it's brutal. So the only way it would work is if existing, you like tech powerhouses like Samsung would give it a go. Yeah. And I don't think that they will. I mean, Atari aren't even doing it properly. Like, Atari, for Christ's sake. Yeah. They're like dipping into cryptocurrency or whatever they're doing at the moment. So it looks like, the amount of money involved in this industry at the moment, it must be one of the most brutal industries. In fact, it's honestly the most brutal industry I can think of, more than film, more than music, anything like that. So
you're competing on so many fronts, and it's like it's already moved on so much in 10 years, whereas 10 years ago you'd have to be competing for like shelf space down at the local game shop. That's not a problem anymore. You've got a whole other boatload of problems to think about, and the exclusives is top of the pile. And I think that
even with exclusives though, the acquisition, it takes a lot more. Let's say Liam put out a console. Let's call it the Liam box. Right? Yeah. And we had a new Assassin's Creed, a new Call of Duty, and I don't know, they brought back like Fable for the Liam box. Yeah. You'd be like, well, what the fuck is a Liam box? And none of my mates have one, so why am I going to buy one? How's it going to work? We don't know who this company is. Is there any point spending getting a digital library on there? It's not going to do a second. There's so many questions. Not only do they need to have a library, they also need to get a reputation, which is millions, if not billions, on marketing to even be taken seriously. Because who's going to take the Liam box seriously? You need to make it a cool and forward-thinking product.
Yeah, but this is something called the Liam box. It is a cool and forward-thinking product. Yeah. We can take that on board. That's kind of what I mean. Like even assuming that they managed to make a good bit of hardware, that looks smart, it's got a good name, they got all the third parties on board. They got EA, Ubisoft, all the big ones on board. Yeah. Even if they've got all that, they still, is what I mean, they still need to make exclusives, because otherwise no one will buy it. So it is like an uphill struggle. And I think it's going to take someone dropping out of the current clutch, and it's not going to be PlayStation, it's not going to be Sony, it's not going to be Nintendo. And why the hell would Microsoft do it? Microsoft are pouring everything they've got into making the Xbox One a good system, and it is good. It is good now. Aside from the exclusives, it's great. There's a lot of stuff going for the Xbox One at the moment. So why would they drop out? So I think there's not much more room than the 3 slots basically, and anyone joining that is going to have a really hard time.
I mean, put out a Dreamcast 2 though, Sega. I'll buy it.
Yeah, let's Sega back in a race. Don't do
Dreamcast 2.
cryptocurrency like Atari, and we'll take you seriously, maybe.
Well, yeah, that's savagery right there. But that's a good question, House of Frogs. Thank you very much. The realist is next. He asks, with PC games now bought almost entirely digitally and an increasing number of console games being bought in the same way, why do publishers not want us to know how many games they have sold? Take-Two are happy to tell us how many GTA 5 copies they've sold, but is that just because it's so ludicrously high? Most other publishers keep it a secret. Are they embarrassed? So companies not revealing or disclosing the sales figures, and this wasn't a problem again like 15 years ago because they were all physical sales, and they were independently verified, and there is a UK chart tracking company that keeps track, and then they release a chart every Monday, and so you know just how well all these games are selling. At least in the UK, but that's not very reliable anymore because so many games buy digitally. There was a load of stories back in like 2016, late 2016, of big AAA titles not selling as well. Turns out everyone was just downloading them instead. The figures look bad because they were just the physical numbers. Why do you reckon that companies keep the sales figures close to their chest?
It's probably just like my reputation, isn't it? I know when Microsoft had the 360, that was selling like insane amounts of units.
Yeah.
And they were quite happy to brag about how many consoles they were selling. But when that got flipped on its head with the Xbox One getting outsold by the PS4, they were like, oh, we're not going to announce our sales figures anymore. So I think it's probably just a matter of like trying to keep their reputation. They don't want to look like they're being beaten by the competition so badly.
And that's exactly what the realist was kind of proposing there.
Yeah, embarrassment. Like if Capcom announced outright that their sales target was about 10 million copies for Resident Evil 7. It underperformed, so what they're going to do, put a press statement out saying our game's underperformed. No one wants to tell anyone of anything other than good news. I think independently verifying sales and stuff is important, and we've covered stories on this, and the whole of games media has covered stories about the growth of Fortnite. 2 million players this weekend, and what's the source of that? It's a colourful GIF on the Fortnite Twitter. Yeah. They could just lie out their arse, and no one would be any the wiser. People are reporting on it because we're assuming that they're telling the truth, right? I'm not, putting a tinfoil hat on here and saying you don't know who to trust. But wouldn't it hurt to just have, numbers from not the people that are saying how great their own numbers are. Yeah. Capcom are telling us 7.5 mil on Monster Hunter, which is the biggest Capcom game ever. Says who? Says Capcom. Well,
there are like independent, especially on PC, right? They've got when it comes to Steam
and all that.
Steam is quite easy for someone to set up like an independent monitoring. Well, I say it's easy. I haven't done it, but do you know what I mean? It's possible for someone to set up an independent verifying website that can just look at the Steam data, and you've got sites like GitHype and Steam Charts or whatever, and Steam DB I think as well, and then they just periodically will come out with analysis and stuff. But there's constantly day to day. Hour to hour tracking of numbers, how many people are playing the game and stuff, Steam, and what the peaks are and stuff on Steam. Exactly. So it's possible to be done through a third party way. And when everyone plays a game through a platform like Steam, that's it's better for people who want to track their numbers, right? But Fortnite has got
they have their Unreal launcher, is it, or something like that? Epic
whatever.
Launcher, and then there's like Origin and that. They make their own platforms because then no one can have a look. But again, it's it's the same with everything, isn't it? A lot of the time, I'm sure gamers don't really give a fuck if you've sold 470, unless you're breaking some sort of record. A lot of people are disengaged. A lot of, especially like the casual game market, the people that are queuing up for hours to play Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty and that, I'm sure they don't care. So they're probably they're trying to keep their image to be like the cool, here's our new DLC pack, and then they can save that shit for the investors, I suppose.
I think it's the haziness is maybe what's kind of annoying when they'll just say, oh, we didn't actually sell as much as we were hoping, and that's all they'll say. But like, how much did you sell? How much were you hoping to sell? Why don't give us little breadcrumbs like that? Just so I guess you do want these companies to be open, I guess. But you're dead right. Like, who cares really? Like if you know through intuition and how other kind of metrics, like how well it's been on the physical charts and what the numbers really are on Steam and things like that if a game is doing really well or not. And also if a company isn't shouting from the rooftops like saying our game is great, then you can assume it's doing fine or disappointingly, so it's that kind of thing, I think, where it's difficult to enforce or even suggest it really to someone, for someone to monitor it closely. So thanks for that question. Mike, whose arm says, with console gaming moving ever closer toward a digital library, I just wondered how it would affect you guys personally and how you buy console games. How do you think it will affect the industry? Would Xbox be lambasted today as they were in 2013 if they tried to kill off used games? Now that is a really interesting question. It kind of follows on from the last one. Digital games and our digital libraries. I guess we've got a lot of digital games now, right, guys? We've got, between us, we've probably got... What's your PlayStation library looking like? Is it percentage-wise?
Mostly physical, my PlayStation library.
Yeah? You're a bit of a collector, aren't you?
Yeah, I do like a physical copy. I just like having it on the shelf, something to look at, something tangible I can hold and, it's like...
Smell.
Why not, yeah. It's just like
new game smell, mate. There's nothing like it. It's great.
Yeah, it's just I like having that feeling of just having knowing I've got something for my money.
I know what you mean.
That sort of thing.
The problem I have is that I have to then get off my ass, put that something in my PlayStation, and then that's why I end up.
You're not alone in that though. There's quite a few people that have come out.
I'm a pioneer in many ways.
Yeah, I'd say so. But
lazy gamer.
In terms of my balance is about 50-50. Do you know what? It just comes down to price these days. Totally.
The
simple fact is that they have the audacity most of the time to charge you £55 for a new game on the PlayStation Store, where you can pick it up for about $39.
Yeah.
Most other places physically. Which is silly, really. But if it was flipped on its head, I wouldn't pay the extra for it physical. There's no way. No way. I'd probably be 100% digital if it was cheaper to get digital. Which is a sad state, really. I think
it's there's so many benefits, though, right? I know you can't sell it on and trade it, and that's the biggest thing that I would miss out on, is because I do like to sell on my games, because you get a lot of money back sometimes, especially if you're done with a game within a week or so of it coming out. You get most of your money back if you sell it on, which is something obviously you can't do with digital. But I think the way that things are going, it does seem like it's really suddenly tipping over into digital very quickly. PC has already happened ages ago, right? Who buys physical PC games?
I don't think I've bought a physical PC game in 5 years.
Same. I for some reason bought the PC version of The Thing on eBay for like $1.99 about 3 or 4 years ago.
That's the only way you can get that game.
I guess so. But other than those old kind of like those classics, which they all had the same kind of cover, and the artwork was inside. Apart from those old kind of PC games, I can't think of the last time I bought.
Actually, I think for me it was I bought Diablo 3. Because it was like,
do you know what? Yeah,
it was like a $5 on Amazon.
So did I.
For the DVD version. I didn't even take
it's like a soft, but with some Velcro, right?
Little circle disc.
I got that. I got that at launch.
I didn't even take the disc out though. I literally just put the serial key into Battle.net and it downloads the game.
Downloaded it.
I never used the disc
one
once.
For the collection. It's like 2% of sales for one big game last year were physical on PC, and I can't remember what it was. And I was like, it's about right, 2% or something like that.
Why would you in it?
Just the collectors, which is,
And it feels like it's going that way on console, is what I was going to say. It feels like that's already happened on PC, and it feels like it's tipping that way into console. And there's a lot of reasons why Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo would want that to happen. The overheads and the reliance on your retailers and bricks and mortar and Amazon and stuff, that goes out the window. All you need is your own digital storefront, and the only people who have to share the money then is the provider, so Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, and whoever made the game, right? The publisher and the
it's a bit of a monopoly, so they can just charge you £55 like the
and get almost all of it.
They could use that to bring the prices down, but they'll just keep it up because fuck you. Do you know what I mean?
I think their excuse for the prices is that if they were too aggressive on the pricing, then Game and GameStop and all the others would get upset, and they would be like, and that's what they've said in the press before. They've been like, the bricks and mortar get annoyed when we have to have that high thing. It's a weird thing, but I think that's diminishing. The power of the bricks and mortar shops is diminishing slowly as well, and when that happens, then physical is going to go. I think physical's definitely got its benefits. If you're like Liam, you want something to put on your shelf and that.
Yeah,
it's good. And I will do that with certain games, but with certain other games like what I've found myself doing actually is buying a game new at launch physical, noticing that I'm realizing I'm still playing it 3 months down the line, and then going, actually, this is on sale on PlayStation Store. I'll just sell my physical game, get like, a lot of money back, and then buy it and buy the digital version at the sale price. And then I've got the digital version forever. And it's like, I find myself doing that a lot. Well, I say a lot, but more, enough times for me to realize it's happening. I definitely think we're kind of moving over into digital, though.
Give it another 2 generations.
Yeah.
Definitely don't think it's going to be next gen.
I think it's too sudden to...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like stuff like internet speed and stuff's got to catch up first.
Exactly.
It happens in spikes, though, doesn't it? So.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But I don't know. But as for the quickly touching on that point about the Xbox got lambasted a couple of years ago, you're so right. And if they tried it this year, they'd get about a quarter of the amount of backlash. They'd still get a backlash. And it would be the more verbose, like loud, angry, sweary ones on YouTube and that, but it wouldn't be half as bad a backlash, because it would be like, get with the times, man.
As long as they don't say TV all the time, because that was another part of the problem.
They don't bring out Usher as well. Do you know what I mean?
Don't do stuff like that. So that's a great question. Thank you very much, Mike Huzam. So Blizzard Smith asks, do you think gaming magazines... Oh my God, it's all about dying mediums. Do you think gaming magazines are a dying art with new, more dynamic ways to get information, such as yourselves?
Are we killing magazines? Is that
are we murdering magazines? Is that a Clean Prince video waiting to happen? I don't know. I think magazines are still very nice to have and to look at there, and they're green ships.
An Edge front cover is beautiful every time. They nail it every time. Never seen a shit Edge magazine front cover. I challenge anyone.
Is it worth like the £7 or whatever it costs to buy it?
Or you can just go on like some random site and read it for free.
I don't know if that's legal though, so I don't know.
I don't mean like the magazine. I mean you could go like the story Edge has like on their front page or whatever. You can probably see the same.
It gets relayed in there.
You're totally right. A games journalist will buy it. We used to get them. Now we don't anymore. I don't know why, but whatever. And then a games journalist will get one, and then they'll just reword it in their own, and then they put it on their thing. Oh, there's been a huge announcement. What did I see about Final Fantasy the other day? And it was like, and then I read the actual magazine, and it was like one sentence. Oh, what was it? And then it was
I remember it was like he was talking about the PS5 or something like that.
I know. I remember what you were talking about. Yeah, and he was just said something, just really throwaway comment, and then that was like
he said maybe in a few years. And some site took it to mean like,
and it became headline news.
Like next gen confirmed.
But what is that? That's exclusives, isn't it? It goes back to the console. If the only way of getting that thing is by buying a magazine and reading it, then they'll survive. But that's the problem. Like you've just brought up there. There's so many other ways of getting information now. But we get all of our information from other websites and stuff, and then those other websites get information from each other. And it's very rare to find some like a source of news that is like, it's an original source, and that's a lot. It's Jason Schreier a lot of the time. It's like you remember them because it's significant. Because a lot of the time it's just passed around. It's a press release. It's a mistaken tweet. It's like a Reddit thread or something like that. It's not that often I found that it's a website that's got that information. And one of the places they get the information from is magazines, right? Is Edge and Game Informer, and Game Informer have got the huge exclusives every month. They've always got like the first preview of so many games, right?
It's all about reputation. The magazines, I think because the way that the world is at the moment, and the way that everyone has so much option and choice, it's like us, right? We could be reporting on some good stuff or whatever, and if you decide that you don't like us, you'll just find someone else straight away. Like Mike read a PlayStation magazine where some guy gave Hellblade a 5 out of 10. Have you read PlayStation magazine since?
No, but had I read a PlayStation magazine before that?
I can't remember.
Probably
actually.
not.
I think I just showed it to be like,
I only went to it because it was a Hellblade review.
But you see how important that is for somebody that relies on people buying. Like if you're looking at, you know what I mean? Like you've got so many options these days. You need a real strong reputation to like withhold that audience and make them not only stick around but pay £7 a month for the privilege where they can wait 2 or 3 days later and Ashley Jenkins and Mika Burton could be telling you the same thing in a Californian accent sort of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So
it's difficult. It's a print.
It's about reputation, I think.
No, you're totally right. It's difficult. It's print, and basically all print industries are in decline. I guess they're managing decline. I think I'm alright to say that because I used to work in print, so that's right. And it's like they're just handling the descent at the moment, and they're trying to mitigate it and adapt the business and whatever, and move things online as much as possible. It'll be a great shame the day that the last gaming magazine kind of closes up, I guess, because like I said, I do like them, but it's going to happen eventually, isn't it?
Death to all.
Death to all. Thanks, Blizzard Smith. Great question. Jason Jackson says, that was a fantastic podcast for the start of your new Game Plus year. Cheers, mate. If we had a Fallout and most of the technology to build/play video games was obliterated, such a choice of words, obliterated.
Nice post-apocalyptic scenario.
This is such like a positive.
Well, the thing is, I've put these questions in order. The first one was industry issues. The second half of the podcast is just fun stuff, right? But what you end up with is loads of like, this thing's dying. What are you going to do about it? It's like that's anyway.
Sorry, man.
If we had a Fallout, most of the technology to build/play video games was obliterated. How would you go about rebuilding the gaming industry? I mean, I'd build it up exactly the same way.
Get Peter Molyneux.
Give Peter Molyneux a second chance. I said it.
Yeah. He's like, the people will say he's the only one that will survive. I can't say the word I want to say because I got in trouble last time.
It's just kind of insect-like
an insect
creature
that doesn't die in a nuclear war.
It'd be like Mad Max. Be just Peter Molyneux talking to a bunch of kids, going like, "What if the fly was in the sky?"
I
was the biggest games innovator of my time. Let me tell you.
I'm not saying I'm Jesus.
Yeah.
But, I would give first of all give Peter Molyneux a second chance. I'd basically rebuild it exactly the same except for loot boxes. And annual releases, I don't like that. Get rid of that as well. But that is kind of going. I think I'm generally pretty happy with just a few things.
Yeah. Who has a plan for this in their head? Unless Liam, you're going to surprise me now.
No, I mean it's. I imagine you'd have to rather than just going straight to games, you'd have to make a computer or a console to put. If
let's assume the infrastructure is in place.
But he says that everything's been obliterated.
Yeah.
All the technology and everything.
Well, it's like 400 years down the line now, post Fallout. We've rebuilt basically everything, and then one day one of us goes, "Hey, do you remember video games? They were good, weren't they?"
Yeah, someone finds one of those dead video games magazines.
Yeah, exactly. They find Edge. Issue like 127 or something, and then they're like, "Oh, this is cool."
Mario 64. You can jump into different worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really fascinating.
RPG. I mean, you can't put those letters together. That's not a word. RPG. That's a person game. Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do? I
mean, there's so many logistical issues. You'd
have to rally all the top scientists, right?
Yeah, you'd have to reinvent computer programming because that would be lost as well.
Yeah,
you'd have to.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Imagine the infrastructure is there. We've got computers. We've got water is fine. We can use toilets. Like plumbing is sorted. Food.
From the beginning, and people.
Yeah, start with Pong. Just work your way back up again.
Start with Pong again.
Yeah. And avoid the mistakes we made along the way the first time.
I'd try and then
we'll rebuild it, but stronger.
Yeah.
I'd just make it based around stories and not fun. I'd say, listen, treat this medium like a book. People only want to know about it if it's going to have a good story.
Yeah, you want it to be incredibly inaccessible.
Yeah, exactly. And preferably makes you feel hollow inside afterwards.
Yeah, you want to be rethinking everything after playing every game. Every single game needs to make you question your reality and your choices.
Existential crisis per game.
So that was our fun answer to that question, Jason Jackson. Thank you very much. That was a good question. Hayden Wetherill says, "Good show as always, lads." Cheers, man. Recently, I've found myself becoming more and more interested in indie games. Well done. I'm happy for you.
That's the right answer.
I'm currently absolutely hooked on Into the Breach by Subset Games, makers of FTL, and I'm amazed by how they've managed to fit more character into a tiny 8x8 world than many open world titles do. I was wondering if there are any indie developers you guys are big fans of. Yes. Oh my god, yes.
Of course.
Supergiant Games, I guess. I like their work. Larian, can you say Larian is indie?
Yeah.
I guess they would be my most favoritist indie.
The best ones. Probably.
You guys, top of your head.
Team Cherry, who make Hollow Knight, right? I don't think that was published majorly, as far as I know.
Right.
Picked up after the fact, and I think Nintendo were publishing a Switch version.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Liam?
Tribute Games. purely for the Scott Pilgrim side scroller that was on Xbox and PS3.
Yeah. Very good.
And they made Mercenary Kings as well more recently, which was also very good.
Isn't that on the Switch? Or
it just came out on the Switch, They did a reloaded edition. They're very good, like some of the best pixel art you've ever seen in your life.
The Chinese room, I like.
Yeah.
Them ones, what make Super Meat Boy and that? What's his name?
Team Meat.
Team Meat.
I think it is,
Edmund McMillan.
They were on the indie game, the movie, when they were
some of the games. Shouts out Phil Fish.
Yeah, Phil Fish.
Don't really fuck that. Binding of Isaac is one of the standout indie games ever for me. I fucking love that. And so I've got to give them a shout out. Play Dead, make some decent indie games.
Yeah.
There's just a heckload.
The people who make
Stardew Valley guy.
I was about to say the publisher.
Concerned Ape is the dev.
That's him, yeah.
I was about to say it's the Starbound.
That's Chucklefish published as well.
Yeah, but the developer is.
I
can't. Maybe I'll Google that while you guys mumble.
I think Chucklefish made Terraria. Is that right?
I think so. They made Terraria and they published Starbound and
Starbound.
And now they're making that Spellbound, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're making Starbound.
Yeah,
oh, right.
I think they're the developer as well.
Well, they're good. There's so many great indie publishers and developers. I'm glad that you're kind of you've been converted, because I think people do dismiss indie games, right? A lot of like with the PlayStation Plus. Sometimes PlayStation Plus is like arse. It's just pants, rubbish. Sony, but sometimes it's good. But what I mean is there are times when they're just kind of not very well known games that are great.
Yeah.
But
no one gives them a chance.
Yeah.
It's not Metal Gear Solid 5 for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Super Time Force Ultra, Binding of Isaac,
Capybara
Rocket
Games.
League. Yeah. All of that is like indie top tier, and that's all PlayStation Plus. I think the conversation shifted entirely. Like when I started here, Gaz was like, "Oh, so you're the indie guy." You know what I mean? And now Gaz is like, indie games are the way forward, blah, blah, blah. And it's because of the Switch, I think, lots of it. And well, there was the big loot box conversation divider, but it's like just in a year people are like, oh shit, there are some good indie games. They're not all like 2D side-scrollers with a SNES soundtrack. Sort of
well, that is, I think that's probably the PR problem for indie for a little while. Was when it was first emerging, it all looked and was 2D side-scroller SNES stuff. But then it's evolved like really well, and there's some really nice stuff, and there's some like games that like push graphical boundaries, like the walking simulators and stuff. That you wouldn't. That's not normal. That's before that you didn't think that's what indies did, but it turns out they do that. And
and
there's been a lot.
Original Sin is like the benchmark
cracking game. Yeah.
For RPGs and indie, so
thingy as well. Devolver Digital, amazing indie publisher.
Yeah, one of the biggest like in the game, man. They've been doing it for ages.
The Hotline Miami guys.
Yeah, if you're fresh into indie games, you've got so much. If you just Google indie games, it'd be so good.
What I would say is don't rely on Steam to help you find your games, because you'll just drown in a sea of shite. But there are, if you look online, go outside of Steam. Don't just rely on curated tools and stuff. Find someone that you like as a reviewer or something. See what games they're interested in, and you'll find games that way. Because Steam, unfortunately, although it is the number one place for indie games, like in terms of sheer quantity, basically every indie game that comes out on PC first, and it comes on Steam. You just will get lost when you're looking for
the Humble Bundle. If you just go through the backlog of the months, because you can see the game lists now. Have a look at them.
Curated, isn't it? It's carefully
if
selected.
Any of them take your fancy, because they swapped ownership lately, so I don't know how much the taste has changed and stuff. But you can see if anything takes your fancy. But if you're into the breach, clearly 8-bit, snazzy, 16-bit graphics or whatever don't really matter to you that much. So more power to you, boy.
So nice one, Hayden. That was a very good question. Andrew Pugsley says, what best game had the shittest controls that you couldn't stand playing because of it? For example, a lot of people complain about Resident Evil tank controls, even though many people like them. Personally, trying to jump into Total War Shogun 2, I was so overwhelmed by the tutorial, I had to give up, even though I had grown up playing RTS games like Age of Empires and Age of Mythology. So games that... I've got crap controls, guys. I mean, what do you feel about the Resident Evil? You're the Resident Evil.
It's a very valid criticism, because it's not a system for everyone. I mean, even in the recent remasters we did, we had to add in a modern control option. Yeah, and I think in Grim Fandango, the remastered one, there's actually a trophy for beating the game using tank controls, and it's a point-and-click game. Yeah. So a point-and-click game with tank controls, you can't imagine like a nightmare that must be.
What about you, Jake?
Don't know. I've been so brainwashed that I learned to love them. Ape Escape.
I'm the same,
quite a shit control scheme, I think. But
no!
don't
say it. No, don't say it.
I think Ape Escape.
That was the sound of a heartbreaking. That wasn't it?
Oh no! Ape Escape. I'm currently playing Ape Escape 2, right? And I love it. But I'm getting so many little quality of life things that making me like roll my eyes. I'm like, stupid control scheme.
Like jumping with R1.
Oh yeah, what's that about? And like, just I don't know. It's annoying, and having to swap out your fucking triangle, circle, and square a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I guess just because it's the only one I can think of off the top of my head, I'm gonna have to say Ape Escape 2 begrudgingly. Sorry, Liam.
It's alright.
Mine, because you said the best game that's got a bad control scheme, I'm actually going to say Knights of the Old Republic, which is basically Knights of the Republic 2 is basically my favourite game ever, pretty much. And the controls, like, I feel like the whole game could have been done a little bit differently. Like, there could be some minor alterations to that system that could have made it like perfect, right? But it's just something that I feel like it's something I've got to deal with. It's an example I can think of a game that I think is like one of the best, but the controls aren't perfect. So that's one of mine. As for like something like Total War, there are some games where it is a learning curve, right? You can't just jump into it and learn how to play it on the first session. You might come away from it from the first session thinking this game is not for me because the controls are that. Well, there's so many things going on in something like Total War, but there are, controls are like a really important first impression, right?
Yeah, if the game doesn't play well, you get put off and you might have like 2 worlds. Remember, I always think that you've got to push past.
To get to the 5 out of 10 game that lies beneath.
It's at least a 6.5. I went pushing it before, so I don't want to bore you with more 2 worlds.
Cheers. Right, Matthew John Jenkins asks the last question before we move on to fact of the week. My question is about your discussion a while ago on Hellblade and how will it handle such a deep and meaningful topic. It got me wondering about other themes that could be portrayed in games. So are there any other controversial themes that you'd like to see in games? So he mentions he's a vegan and he'd like to see something looking at the meat and dairy industry, for example. Now, we did answer this a few weeks ago, which is, and I can't really remember what we said at the time.
It was specifically on the back of a discussion we had about Hellblade.
Right. Which is what Matthew has asked here. So are there any themes or anything like that in games?
We answered this question like pretty much identical.
Fully,
I didn't have one.
Yeah.
Matthew John Jenkins asks this question like nearly every week, but because we answered it, we just like Matthew, you answered it.
We're rewarding your persistence here. Maybe it's a bad lesson to teach.
Well, the way I see it is this. Matthew John Jenkins asks great questions every month, but until we answer this, he's not going to move on.
Because he's clogging up the system, right?
I rely on the Matthew John Jenkins comment economy, and I'm a heavy backer in it, and I want him to ask a different question, so I'm going to answer it. And I'll give you a little tidbit about veganism, right? I was thinking, because you were saying, I want a game that might address something to do with the dairy industry. I was thinking, all right, how would they make a game like that work and be quite fun and not like too preachy? Because that's the thing, if you're ever doing, like Hellblade could have been preachy. I was thinking, what's the best example of a game that kind of has like themes of, well, not pure veganism, but like anti-corporation, anti-animal exploitation. And do you know what I've thought about? Abe's Odyssey. I think Abe's Odyssey is like the closest we can get to that message, and it was like in the 90s. Some people hadn't even heard of it, I think, when we spoke about it last time.
Not recently, but they gave it away on PlayStation Plus not too long ago.
Oh, the new and tasty, right?
Yeah, the new and tasty.
Because they've reskinned it. We were at EGX 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And we saw them talking about the it's a remake of the second one?
Soulstorm.
With extra stuff or something like that. But
new mechanics, pretty much.
If you don't know about Abe's Odyssey, you should check that out because, it's going to touch on a lot of things, I guess, that will be near and dear to you if you're a vegan, I think. But, I mean, what else could they do? They could do a clever, quote-unquote, cerebral story about, like, cannibalism or something like Soylent Green or something like that, where people will only realise how bad it is if it's happening to other people, because that's a lot of the time how people work, I guess. So that's why I think they should do it. If they did like a vampire story that had those themes in it, it could work. So I just wanted to address that, and recommend looking up Abe's Odyssey, and even if you've never played it but you've heard of it, check it out because I think you'll like it. Hopefully that answers your question.
It's mainly indie games that do that they are brave enough to do it, right? And it's not just Hellblade. There's that Dragon Cancer and stuff, which if you can't tell by the title, is about cancer.
It's a mover.
So there's some real serious stuff out there. But if you know where to look for it, and know where to look is basically indies, because you're not going to find it in.
Yeah, it's literally because it's like the blockbuster movie, innit? It's like, hey, shut up. We don't want to think, and it's like we want the explosions and to be chased by a helicopter with a Gatling gun on it.
Yeah,
we don't want to sit
piloted by Mark Wahlberg, The Rock, or who's the other one recently? Jason Statham. Well, yeah. Who's the guy? Kevin Hart, the guy who's always with The Rock. Yeah,
I think Kevin Hart sits in the passenger seat. He's
the
one telling The Rock that he's doing a terrible job, even though The Rock is saving everyone's lives.
So it's a tough thing. I don't think it'll ever get like really mainstream. Like this game. Like Spec Ops: The Line and
it's the same in the movies. It's exactly. There's the blockbuster that exists for a reason, but there are plenty of movies that tackle like very serious things. It's like it's just about knowing where to look, I guess, and it does happen. It does happen in video games, and you just have to dig it out, I guess. So thanks for your question, Matthew John Jenkins. So let's move on to the undisputed highlight of the podcast, fact of the week. Can we have the jingle, please? UK chat show host Jonathan Ross appeared as a voice actor in Halo 3. He supplied the voice of one of the Marines who helps out the Master Chief, although it's very rare that one of his lines actually comes up. So the 30-second throwdown this week is called "Don't You Just Hate It When Your CPU air cooling solution of choice fails to sufficiently lower the temperature of your processor." Jake, whenever you're ready.
Alright, I've had this problem with my PC overheating for ages. I've been doing my head and I thought, is it the fans? Is it I've got my intake in it and all that? Nah, I've just got like a i7 and it's got the standard old CPU cooler. And I took it out yesterday to see if the thermal paste had like turned into dust. And it had, well that's a shame. And then I realised that one of my push pins had snapped.
5, 4,
so I had to get a new one.
3,
I fucking hate it. Because it means I can't play Vermintide early. Cheers.
Carl Vernal asks, "Who is the best wizard? Unanimous decision only, please." You little rascal, Carl. Causing divisions. Who is the best wizard? Unanimous decision only. We're not going to reach unanimous verdict on this because Liam is by now famously anti-wizard.
Yeah, apart from that one from Fantasia.
It's Gandalf in it. So
Gandalf or Voldemort. I won't settle for anything else.
Or Voldemort?
Yeah, he's a good wizard.
What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
Gandalf is the greatest, comfortably. Gandalf is the wizard. Gandalf is the OG. Gandalf is.
Yeah, Gandalf has got like that voice that makes. Like,
he's got the gravitas. He's got the. Don't worry, Gandalf's here.
I do this quite often. I don't know if you do, but when I close my eyes and think of a wizard, Gandalf appears.
Exactly. Gandalf is the.
He's
Gandalf
the archetype.
He is the archetype. Like all of Tolkien's work, he is the foundation for which all wizardry is built upon.
Staff, that little hat with that little point on, but not one of them witch hats. Big beard.
Yeah.
Slow, soft voice.
What I love about Gandalf is the subtle use of magic as well. He's not like blasting electricity bolts at people and stuff. He shines a bright light, and that is about as magical as it gets in Return of the King.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a huge moment. That's a beautiful moment.
It's like an iPhone 10.
Understated. Yeah, exactly. He's got.
But he could rip Middle Earth a new arsehole. Because he's Gandalf the White. He's not messing about in the dark.
Yeah, if he put the ring on, the shit would be
ultimately that's why Saruman is not top. It's because he had the opportunity to be top.
Yeah,
he's just because he's quite intelligent as well. But he lets himself down.
Yeah,
by I've got a Palantir, whatever.
Yeah, he fails himself.
He does,
and he fails the order.
Us. Yeah, and that's why Gandalf is the best wizard.
Yeah.
Liam.
I'm going to say Tim the Enchanter from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Right, what's next, Mike?
Ben Sharp asks, "What game are you best at?" Bloodborne was really good. Right, so Blood is
that the question?
No, what I've done there is starting to read out my answer. So what? Let me do that again. Okay. Ben Sharp asks, "What games are you best at?" Well, Ben Sharp, Bloodborne. I was really good at Battle for Middle-earth 2. I was really good at, but the game I was most good at, I think, is Bad Company 2, purely because I played it more than any other game I've ever played.
Yes,
I put the hours in with that game. And I was, by the end, always first or second. I've never been able to claim that on any other game. Well, you know, that was a game that had like 32 players or whatever on one team. So that's, you know, I guess I've been first or second in other games that have got like 4 players per team, but that is significant when there's that many players. So I reckon Bad Company 2 is my answer, but I'm not normally a good kind of player. I'm a shit player normally.
Probably survival horror games, stuff like Resident Evil. I can
do it like the back of your hand. You just
like the first Resident Evil game. I pretty much know the layout of that map off by heart. Called Modern Warfare 2, I was pretty good at. Like I was always first or second on the leaderboard. And Max Payne 3, oddly enough, on the leaderboards, I was 30th in the world at one point for one of the game modes.
That's good. That's a good post.
Do you remember 1 versus 100 on Xbox?
Yes.
That live quiz game. I was number 1 in the entire country for the video games category.
Holy shit! I'm sitting next to that guy. That's
that guy.
Who knew? Yeah.
I was number 1, and then I got one question wrong because it was a date question, and I was like a year off.
Oh right.
And I got knocked down to second.
Oh, devastating!
So,
collapse in form.
Pride comes before the fall.
It did, but at one point I was the best 1 versus 100 player.
That's very good. That's a very good answer.
Exciting. Like Inside Xbox has come back.
Yeah. That is some big news. Xbox 360 was like, I feel like, the start of all this, and so was Inside Xbox.
So ahead of it, yeah. 1 versus 100 needs to come back.
Bring that back. I will play my Xbox One X.
I would buy an Xbox One for that.
Yeah. Xbox even had like this weekly community article thing. Yeah. I wrote one of them. I got that on there. I got so much abuse.
What was it? I can remember.
No, but I just remember people just messaging me saying "fuck off" and stuff. Like loads. I got loads of friend requests because they put your gamer tag at the bottom of it. And I got loads of it, and I was like, I've just done a little thing about a game. That
I'm trying to think what was like the insult at the time. Do you know what I mean?
It was usually like your mum or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably that sort of shit.
It was it was. I can't really remember. Just generally kind of fuck off.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah,
and you can't remember what it was about.
But it was like what it felt like was they hadn't read the thing. They'd just seen someone's gamer tag. And sent them abuse because it was like totally unrelated. So no one like picked me up on anything I'd written or anything. They just told me to fuck off.
Criticism on Xbox. Oh my God.
So what games are you good at, Jake? Any good at Bloodborne?
Yeah, I say so. Well, I don't think Orphan of Cause it's that hard. I don't get it. Yeah. I don't get it. I was just before we came in actually. I was watching loads of videos about Dark Souls and like party video stuff, and like I always think. People reckon it's hard as well. I don't, so I must be okay at it. And I've recently started it again to help out all the
It's familiarity, isn't it? And the confidence.
You know it, you're doing that. You know, it feels like a dance. The bosses are just, oh man, Bloodstar Beast, beautiful. Like I did Cleric Beast and Father Gascoigne without even leveling up because I wanted to see how many souls I could bank up. I guess Call of Duty 4, I put 28 days in, which I don't know how many hours that works out at. And that's probably my most played game. Binding of Isaac, I just know it off by heart. Like it's procedurally generated, but I know all the items. I know what combinations go best. I know stuff like that. I guess I'd say I'm pretty good at that. I always remember we had like a party at my mate's house when he was like 11 years old or something. Winner stays on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Right.
And they were getting pissed off at me because I wasn't losing. So that's the only time I can remember being undefeated. But all my mates are gamers, right, as well. So I think that's the only time I ever didn't even lose. Yeah. Comfortably top of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 15 years ago.
Wow. The only other thing I've got any slight reference to this is my friend was the first person to get I think I might have mentioned this on the podcast before, but he's the first person to do Through the Fire and the Flames or something on Guitar Hero 3 or whatever.
That's very good.
The extreme, ridiculous thing. And he got offered a Red Bull sponsorship deal. Yeah, I don't know if he took it. I haven't spoken to him in years. But
some people love that. Some people live for the first, right? My brother is.
Oh, he took over his life. He was properly training.
And there's a guy I know who now is the leader, I think, of the UK's biggest Super Smash Bros. On the GameCube. Melee, is it Melee? Dan, I used to call him Dan Soup, I think his name's Dan Thomas. I was in school with him and he's shit hot. And he was one of those Guitar Hero guys.
Yeah.
He has wrist guards on when he's playing and shit like that. You know what I mean? And my brother's well into MMOs. He was he worked in Lidl, and he would spend like a tenner on those shitty little 30-70 energy drinks. Book 2 days off work, ready for the new Final Fantasy 14 expansion.
What a champion!
And him and his guild would just like no life it, so we could be server first to beat Behemoth and all that. It's pretty impressive, Danny. A nice one, but. That's cool. That's good. I've told his tale.
Yeah.
To the people.
You've relayed the message.
And if anyone cares, that's great.
So that's the games that we're good at. Ben Sharp, thank you very much. Now this next question, what I'm going to do is going to bash my answers down to the next line so I don't accidentally read them out. Stay at Home Gaming asks, what's one game you wish you could return to and why? End of question.
Return? What do you mean?
So, return. What game could you return? You bought a game, you don't like it, you want to get rid of it. My answer is Madden 15 on PS4.
Yeah.
On account of I don't like NFL.
So why did you buy Madden?
Because I really like rugby, and there was no rugby games. It was on offer.
Poor man substitute.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
it was on offer for like 15 quid, and I was like, yeah, okay, all right, I'll get that.
No, it's permanently attached to your account.
I did play it actually for about 2 weeks. I played it quite a bit, but yeah, it's just a stain on my account now. Just get out of there. So that's my answer.
Battlefront 2, and I think
really,
I played it like twice. One sitting, I did the whole campaign.
Did you buy it physical?
Second day, yeah.
Sell it?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. If you want to buy Battlefront 2, I'll sign it for you. 25 quid. I'll get the whole office to sign it. Nice one. Cheers. No, seriously, Battlefront 2, I played it twice, and I've got absolutely no energy to go back to it. And it keeps trying to install cheeky little 4 gig updates on my PlayStation. I can't be arsed of it. So no, that's genuinely.
I've still got it installed. On mine.
I think I have as well.
Yeah, it takes up loads of space, and I've got the physical copies.
I really liked Star Wars Battlefront and Star Wars Battlefront 2 was fun for a couple of weeks. I was like,
the first one I think was superior gameplay by miles.
But it was, you know what? I actually think it looked better and sounded better as well. It's looked and sounded more like Star Wars. I remember when playing that being utterly blown away by it, thinking, oh my god, this is like being in the movie. Didn't get that with Battlefront 2 at all. But it is, it's a great looking game, great sounding game. But they've added things. They've added like the little yellow,
and it could be yours.
Exactly. Signed copy. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hold out on Battlefront. I think. I'm anticipating a big update or something from them, big content update or something.
Yeah, they will.
Clone Wars or something like that.
Solo DLC.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go back to it. Liam, any regrets? Any gaming purchases that you want to get rid of?
Resident Evil Umbrella Corps, which was I bought it for like £3, and I was like, this is just boring. It was like a multiplayer third-person shooter set in the Resident Evil universe, but it was barely functional.
Yeah.
And when the game actually did work, it was the most weird game I've played in a while. Just like the controls were really odd. It tried to be a tactical shooter, but then at the same time it tried to be a fast-paced COD shooter.
Yeah.
It just didn't know what it was. It was a mess of a game.
Do you know what?
I want my £3 back, please. Thank you.
Do you know what? Yeah, that's a good case that you've put forward there. They'd be hard pressed to refuse that.
I could almost get a 6-inch Subway for that.
Yeah, almost. I'm going to maybe drop a bit of a bombshell here. I reckon every Resident Evil game that I've played that isn't a mainline numbered game in the series, and even some of them have been absolute trash, but like anything outside of the main numbered games, I'm like, what even is this? What's this game meant to be? Am I meant to be scared? Is this sci-fi? What the fuck? So yeah,
Resident Evil 6 as well. I want my money back for that.
Oh, that was a pit of a game.
Not looking good for Capcom.
It's not.
The rest of the Resident Evil games I'll quite happily keep, but Umbrella Corps and 6 can just fuck off.
I love you say that like you're extending a charity. Like I will do this.
Listen,
for you. I will.
I even like the light gun shooter spin-offs that were on the Nintendo Wii of Resident Evil.
All right, well, it's getting our hand now. Stephen the Wizard from Fantasia, who says that's a good reference to last week's podcast. Another top show, guys. Loved watching you squabble over the hypothetical 1 million. Yeah, that was a bad question to put at the end. That was difficult. So question for next week. What is your favourite and or least favourite looking console or home computer? So I'm first straight away, right, the American SNES.
Oh yeah, with those.
What makes that? What
square purple buttons?
Piece of shit.
Yeah, let's move on, shall we? Now, what makes that especially bad is that the British or the European one was really nice.
Yeah.
It's like
nice and rounded.
Yeah, it's a great looking system.
Excuse?
There is none.
Horrible Kulkowski looking like a fucking car from a RoboCop spin-off.
Yes,
It's fucking minging.
Yeah. It's a bad system. I don't know. There's been some stinkers. The original Xbox One, I think, is fucking too.
It looks like
iconic.
a video player.
Yeah, it's iconic though. But it is shit. But it's iconic. You remember it. But then
why? Because it's the biggest piece of electronic equipment ever.
Black and green, you know. I don't know. That's its case for that.
Going back to the original. Do you mean the original Xbox or
no? Xbox One.
Like, yeah, because that's what I meant, and I think you're going on about
I thought about that. Yeah, sorry.
the original.
Oh no, that's nice. That's cool because that was like.
See, I'm with Jake.
Iconic as well.
I don't like it. It's fucking massive.
It's ugly, but it's iconic. It's memorable.
The original Xbox.
Yes,
I agree. The Xbox One, what came out in 2013.
I can't even tell you what one looks like. And
it's exactly. It's just
looks
a
like
big
a video player.
It's just a big black VHS player without the VHS slot.
What's the one we got in the office?
That's a slim.
That's an Xbox One S, where they actually remodeled the entire thing.
So it's
which is nice. It's a nice looking. The Xbox One S is a nice looking machine, right? But the original one was bad. PlayStation 3, the first one,
the original PS3
George Foreman grill. Take your pick.
That is honestly a travesty.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad ones.
The Sega Saturn, that's not great.
It's not amazing. No,
it's just a square. Well, rectangle even.
It's just a square.
I think the PS4 even is just because it's got like that bloody trapezoidal thing going on. It's still a little bit. I don't know. I think it gets away with it because it's like subdued. Because it's not, it's not in your face or anything. But it's still a bit boring.
What's this on, the PS2?
PS4.
Oh, PS4.
PS4.
It's defensive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just
angle on it.
Yeah,
I mean, space heater a bit.
It does. It looks all right in the Atari. You just kind of, you don't really think about it.
What sucks the shit purple and grey colour scheme of the old American Famicom and turned it into something great? The GameCube, mate.
Yeah.
That was a sick console.
Yeah.
And it's also, you know exactly what it is. It's a cube that plays games.
Yeah.
Pots in the title. It worked that horrible purple and grey, and it rejigged it into your head to something memorable, beautiful, and also you could probably really injure somebody if you threw that at them.
It's got a handle, hasn't it? Like
it's got great
defense.
It's
a shield, or it's a weapon for striking someone with.
Yeah.
So that's and a games console.
Cons though, shit little discs.
I was about to say that. Yeah,
discs, I like that. I thought they were cool.
Okay,
I don't know, man.
So they're the worst looking consoles, I guess. Thanks for the question, Stephen, that wizard from Fantasia Hughes. I can't wait to see what your name is next week. Just the Stormtrooper says, do you ever jinx yourself when watching a series, playing a game, by saying, I love this game / show so much, just to absolutely hate it or get bored of it? So we'll stick to games, I guess, but you jump too early. You think, I like this game, and you say that too early to yourself, and then later on down the line you end up not liking it. I think we're all guilty of that. I can probably, if you give me enough time, which I did have. I mean, that question was posted ages ago. I could have thought of it before sitting down and hosting the podcast.
Before you had the idea to try and second guess us, though.
Yeah.
You only thought that now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I try to not do that. It's sometimes
you're an unbelievable hype man, though.
I am, but often, and this is great news for me, not so much for everyone around me. I'm a victim of my own hype, and I am happy with what my first impressions are. A couple of times I've been like Ghost Recon. I had very warm first impressions of that, which grew stale very fast. Impulse bought Battlefront, regretted that, and like most of the time, the excitement will wear off, but I'll remember that still. Yeah. So I've got a good wiring up here that helps me through that. I don't ever really get buyer's remorse, or especially with TV shows, because normally it's not my fault. It's Netflix's fault for making shit TV shows. They start off good and then just get just absolutely bogged down in shit subplots about detectives that can't crack cases. In every fucking show, it's shit. Stop it.
It's
not my
formula
fault.
that dries it up for you.
So and also with films as well. There's a lot of time I don't get bored of them. So I don't know. I don't really feel like that much. Battlefront and Ghost Recon probably.
I think they're good answers though, because they both maybe do give a very good first impression. Ghost Recon, I think it shouldn't be understated that is a phenomenal looking game, and when you're learning the features and mechanics to begin with, it's pretty fun. It's good, and I haven't gone back to it for ages, so I don't know. I don't know what it's like now. But at the time, it's at the time you were like, you were just running out of steam really quickly because it's like this is the same thing over and over again. And I think that's what it is. I think the obvious one is No Man's Sky to begin with for me, because it's like that was maybe the best first 5 hours of the game I'd experienced, possibly in years, followed by the worst 5 hours. Most boring, crushing disappointment. So that's a very obvious one for me. But I still kind of stand by No Man's Sky because I still haven't uninstalled it and I dip into it every now and then. It's a better game now. They're still working on it. They've added a load of stuff in it, and it's a game about exploring space.
Yeah.
Liam?
Recently, that comes to mind, Mafia 3. That game starts out very strong.
It's good, yeah.
And then by about 4 or 5 hours in, you're like just doing the same thing over and over again for like 20 hours.
That's the one theme from between all of us: repetitive, samey gameplay.
Never stop sneaking syndrome. We're gonna call it.
Oh, never stop! You liked that at the beginning,
exactly.
For the first 4 hours, that was a really enjoyable.
So this is Never Stop Sneaking on the Switch, which is like a Metal Gear Solid 1 type thing. Oh, is it?
Right. Yeah, it's coming to PC, and it's
there as well.
Yes, do avoid it. But it's like a Metal Gear Solid love tribute homage sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it's really like the trailer's like funny, right? It's a comical
it's like
thing,
very tongue in cheek
melodrama,
and it starts out like very simple arcadey gameplay, really fun. But then if it was like a 2-3 hour long game, it would have been great. But the game goes on for about 10 hours.
Yeah.
And once you've played the first level, which is about 2 minutes long, you've literally seen the entire game.
Which again, repetitive as all shit. Yeah. So that's.
I had to really force myself.
That was really such a funny week because it was like Liam's like, I got this game. It's so good. Second day, it's quite repetitive now. Third day, I need to finish.
Kill me.
Fourth day was literally, does this game even fucking end?
The fifth day, I was praying for the sweet release of death.
But you did it.
I finished it finally.
So that'll be a lesson to you. Don't make your games that repetitive because that's the turn sour quickly.
So thanks for the question there, man. October Comstock asks, what's your favourite armour set from a game? Mine was the Nightingale set from Skyrim. That's a good choice.
That's a damn good outfit, yeah.
Blew my mind when I got it. I felt like a sneaky dragon shadow ninja. That's a good 4 words. Yeah, I like those 4 words. Favourite armour sets.
Waiting to happen, that is.
Exactly. Good 4 words.
Quite fond of my Legiana set from Monster Hunter World at the minute. Look like a
man, that's a game about armor. Isn't it?
I look like a badass ice dragon. I mean, what's not to like about that?
That's the sick reality of Monster Hunter is you kill the thing so that you can then wear it and look like it.
I remember I came into the office one day and said, I made a dragon into a pair of trousers last night. Yeah. How was your evening, guys?
That's that kind of colonial era mentality is something I just can't get behind. That is a game about wearing stuff. Monster Hunter. I think Destiny is a game about dressing up. That's a fashion game as well as a shooting game.
That Assassin's armor you can get at the end of Assassin's Creed 2 if you do all that for 2.
That is good.
That was pretty badass.
That is a good set of armor.
Nightingale armor is one to beat.
Yeah, it's a really good solution.
Cowl from Oblivion. Very similar.
What was that? I can't remember that.
When you did a Thieves Guild quest and you become Grey Fox and it's cursed so no one can remember who you are and stuff. The story attached to that is really cool and it looks like really bad.
Yeah.
So it's ironically good.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I like terrible, so terrible that it's good. Answers. Mine is actually Dead Space. I think that is pretty much a set of armor, right?
That's good.
And that's a stomper and it's quite iconic and it's the way that there's loads of varieties of it. But they all follow a theme. They're all kind of visually, I really like that set of armor in it. That's a good question, October Comstock. Thank you very much. Mank Maka asks, we know most of you are PC gamers. Well, all of us, right?
Until tomorrow.
Well, temporarily out of action. How good are your setups? Too soon, Jake. Maybe I don't know. Is your taste for more aesthetically pleasing builds like LED, custom water cooled type thing, or more of a stealthy build? Liam, I'm gonna throw this one to you first. How good's your setup, and what's your kind of taste when it comes to your PC?
So do you want like the specs of my computer?
I want everything, mate. Tell me everything about your PC.
I've got an i5 7600K processor,
which by the way is basically the best thing you can get, right? As far as i5s go.
As far as i5s go, yeah, but there's even better i5s out now.
Yeah, and you've already mentioned that you might fancy upgrading to one.
Because it was a piss take how much better they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got that overclocked, so I get a nice little boost. Got a GTX 970 graphics card, which is showing its age quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've got 16 gig of DDR4 overclocked RAM. I've got an 250 gig SSD, sorry, and a 2 terabyte hard drive, and then a terabyte hard drive. And the case is a NZXT-H440, I think it's called. And it's like a very sleek, minimalist.
So it's not one of these.
No, it's
look how great my PC is. PCs.
No, there's no like LED lighting stuff on it.
Yeah,
and it's like very quiet, whisper quiet even.
Well, I've got the same graphics card as you, and I've got an SSD in it, and I've got 250 gig SSD. And my processor is an i5, but it's like 4460K or something like that. So it's not, but it's fine. It does the job. I'm thinking of upgrading that actually. Interestingly, Steam just did like a hardware. You know, they periodically release hardware stats for what their users are using, and then the most common card, which has been the 970 for a long time, is now the 1060, and I think it was like that the last time. Actually, but it is comfortably the 1060 NVIDIA graphics card is the most commonly used one. People are still playing 1080 more than 4K or any other kind of higher resolution.
Yeah, I'm still on 1080.
Yeah, so am I, and I don't feel an immediate.
Got 2 monitors as well. Forgot about that.
You got a double monitor.
Got 2 monitors. Got a nice G-Sync monitor as my main one, just like a box standard 24-inch one as my secondary.
Yeah. As far as how my PC looks, it's it's just kind of a subdued setup, I guess. Like everything I've got is like black, and then there's some like red LEDs stuff going on in the case, which is a Corsair case, and it's just a kind of basic Corsair case, and a Corsair keyboard, which is also got like red LEDs. But that's, as far as lighting and stuff, that's about as far as it goes, and it's all very subtle. I don't like it. It's just a waste of electricity to me at this point.
I don't think I have any LED components on my computer. My motherboard's got some on it, but I can't see it because I can't see the window on my case where I've got my computer.
I don't mind a little bit of lighting, because if you literally want to look inside the case, look at the motherboard, a lot of PCs have got clear sides, right? Yeah. That's useful. That serves a purpose, but. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know. I think it's like ridiculous when they've just got. I don't know what are they meant to look like.
It looks like the Blackpool lights.
It's just,
there's a reference.
4 fans that are all LED Corsair ones, 2 blue, icy blue, 2 red. Then my 1070's got a little shitty green and blue light on. Like all sorts of colours down there, mate. It's like pride flag. I got the Corsair big old open case vanity window, i7 4790 CPU. Cool Master TX3 on the way, GTX GeForce 1070, and one of these keyboards, but compact. I'll bring it in.
It's just a big mechanical Corsair thing. If you have anyone listening,
and I've got a regular, just like a Dell school library looking mouse.
Yeah, that's the most annoying thing about, like, you've got
like
everything. It is, yeah. You've got everything that's like
everything
good.
else like kitted out to the top.
But like the shittest PC World mouse you could ever have. Like
all man needs.
It's the kind of one where it didn't even come with a PC. You went, oh, this PC hasn't got a mouse, and then they went, oh, I'll just check if there's one in the back for you, and they just came out
£2 down the curries.
Yeah, exactly. Not even in a packaging or anything. It's just like one of the.
Yeah. It's a.
That's how shit.
Do you know what I mean?
Has it got a rollerball in it? Is it like that one of them?
No, it's got.
I've got to like this,
which is red as well. So that's
well, that is a sign of quality. So that's kind of what we're working with. If you don't do PC gaming, the last 5 minutes was just a horror show for you, and I apologise. If you do PC gaming, I guess that was mildly interesting.
Yeah, feel free to tell us how better your rigs are below.
Yeah, tell us how many LEDs you got on that, and that'll be exciting.
4 1080s, whatever.
Post your PC colour schemes.
Timberwolf asks, wow, what a difference a year has made. You are killing it. Keep going. Thank you, Timberwolf.
Yeah, nice one,
question. If I could snap my fingers and magically change the laws of science, what game character do you want to actually meet and interview? And what is the first question you would ask them? So not industry figure, not Hideo Kojima. What character would you want to interview? Snake, innit? It's a big boss.
Yeah.
Any of Kojima's creations. Tell us about Kojima.
Tell us of your creator.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Adam Jensen from Human Revolution.
Yeah.
And I'd just say, did you ask for this? Because he'll just say, I did not ask for this. Right. That'd be it.
Yeah.
Fuck it, why not?
And he'd just kind of make sigh audibly through the whole thing.
He'd like grunt at me.
Yeah.
Geralt would be a good one. What's the best monster in that?
Don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Geralt, fucking
Do we have to do
hell,
this
mate.
now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can't tell
Rain's
monsters to kill. Alright, so is that Batman or Geralt?
I don't know, all of them. That's the problem.
Same
Or
fucking thing.
Adam Jensen. That's the fucking thing, isn't it? A big, just a manly, wiry
Stoic,
guy.
silent type.
Yeah, I know I've mentioned this in nearly every podcast lately, but I'm going to have to do it because it genuinely is the answer, right?
Go on.
The main character from Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is a scientist who's done an experiment and you don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But it basically brought the Rapture down and communicated with like some sentient celestial beings that are like fucking rapturing everybody up and trying to communicate, right? But you don't ever find out what she did and why she did it.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know that.
So that's probably the number one use of this, isn't it? If it's something that is left ambiguous and you want to know what it is.
Resolve the plot point.
Yeah, I would go for the robot from Mass Effect 2, or did I just say robot? It's like the the Geth thing, but he's on your side.
Yeah.
And he's like his name Legion. Exactly. His name describes what he is. So he's like he's
a hive mind.
Hive mind, exactly. So he's just a like pan galaxy intelligence that you could speak to. I'd interview him and ask him like every possible every question that Wikipedia can't answer. I would ask. That'd be a long interview.
Deckard Cain from Diablo. I feel like he'd know. He's quite wise. He'd know. He's like he knows everything, doesn't he? He can tell you all the mythical.
Similar kind of things.
You guys are gonna love Siri. In a couple of years, it'll just be that. If you want to know shit, regular stuff.
I've got another good one.
I'm scared of Siri. Who?
GLaDOS portal.
Yeah, speaking of
sentient
evil
computer
women,
being
robots.
That'd be a good one. What a great question. Thanks, Timberwolf. Nilman asks, have you ever picked up a hobby or interest because of a game? I recently got into knitting because of how enamoured I was of the game Unravel and its anthropomorphic protagonist, Yarny. I've got nothing to meet up to that answer that you've given there, Nilman. Getting into knitting because of a game is fucking awesome.
Knitting's weird, isn't it? It's like making such a resurgence.
Yeah.
It was my daughter's, well, she's not born yet, but the baby shower this weekend. And all my girlfriend's mates are like into knitting.
Yeah.
And we've got like 90% of my daughter to be clothes is knitwear. I mean, come on. That's for a guy that's so into knitwear. That's great. It's not intentional at all. But Milman, if you are working on a little something and you want to send it to your boy, I'll represent that knitwear. Okay. Unravel was a good game, and I can't imagine it would make me want to pick it up. It looked really nice, but no, I haven't really got into it.
I really can't think of it apart from other like nerdy pursuits that like like maybe like playing like fantasy games and stuff, and then getting interested in like Warhammer models or like board games or something like that, which are basically just games but not on a screen. I can't really think of any other way that I've been influenced to do anything else. What about you, Liam?
No, I don't think gaming's ever inspired me to take up a hobby.
All gaming makes me do is want to play more games.
I kind of do things that I wouldn't do in real life. I'd never dare of killing legions of rats in real life.
Well, exactly.
But in Vermintide,
what did rats ever do?
I mean, there's probably somebody out there who played Assassin's Creed and decided they want to learn free running or something like that.
It's definitely plays an important part in culture when it comes to like trends and crazes and whatever that emerge. That's a really good example of like wall running and things like that, and just general fitness, non-weights fitness and stuff, whatever that kind of stuff. It's a good question, but very difficult to answer and very difficult to top knitting because of playing Unravel. That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
So last question to close out the podcast. Thought I'd save this one to last because it's
not about how are we gonna like reform the game.
Precious Bodily Fluids asks, with the evolution of video games from 8-bit pastimes to potential forms of artistic expression, can you think of any video games that successfully communicate the human condition through its narrative, art direction, or even gameplay? So I thought I'd save this one to the end.
Can you just say that one more time for the people at home?
With the evolution of video games from 8-bit pastimes to potential forms of artistic expression, So we've got that following so far.
Yeah.
Can you think of any video games that successfully communicate the human condition
Easy.
through its narrative, art direction, or even gameplay?
We know it, don't we? We know the answer.
Hellblade?
Hellblade, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hellblade's the perfect.
I was going to go War Remains of Edith Finch.
Hellblade is exactly the answer you're looking for.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, isn't it? Let's face it. There's a reason that game's so popular. I get Hellblade. The more games like that come up, you know, pushing narrative boundaries, and that you're asking there about narrative, art direction, or gameplay. Well, that's what Hellblade does. It's all three of those things and more, sound design and everything that help create this capture this kind of essence of what this woman is going through, and it does a bloody good job of it.
Such a cool bar that it's set.
Yeah.
And you know, it might not show its importance now, but certainly in a couple of years, when there'll be inevitably other games that tackle other topics, like what Matthew John Jenkins was saying earlier about. You know, how different industries could be tackled or questions and whatever through interactive mediums. I think people will look back at Hellblade a lot and really say that's where it started, a lot of it anyway. You know, and I don't even feel confident saying it was the first game to do it, because I'm sure there's loads of other games.
It's not, but it's just one of the most. It's one of the most successful, isn't it? It's like Battlegrounds. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds wasn't the first to do that, but it's doing a great job.
It doesn't do it in a. You know, it doesn't reveal it over cutscene. You know, it's not like Spec Ops: The Line where it's like, oh, here's the big twist reveal. It doesn't feel like anything like that. And I think that it's really going to show its strength over time. I think in 10 years' time, people are going to be able to thank Hellblade for loads of innovations that have happened and organically happened through that game inspiring people. Hopefully that answers you.
So that's your answer to that question. I thought that was maybe going to be a difficult one for the end, but we had the power. We summoned the energy and did it. Thank you very much, everyone, for your questions. As always, very good set of questions there. If you want us to answer your questions, just respond to this podcast. There'll be a post on Patreon. You can just comment underneath that and let us know. Just ask us any questions you want. Here's a little tip: keep it short, and there's a very good chance you get picked. I found just that seems to be what happens. You keep it tight, you usually get picked. That's my little pro tip.
From the guy that picks the questions as well, so you get advice from the guy.
Exactly. You want to make me happy is what you want to do, and I want short questions, so make it happen. Thanks a lot for listening, and thank you for watching. My name is Mike Williams. I've been joined by Liam McKelvey and Jake Kulkowski. See you next time.